Hi there, it's me again. In this third video, I would like to introduce to you teachers-to-teachers classroom observation, which will be very useful for your career development. In this video, we are looking at the definition of classroom observation, some benefits of teacher-to-teacher observation program, steps to conduct successful observation sessions, and finally, some models of observation. Before starting the lesson, I want you to think about this following question in about 30 seconds. Now, let's watch this video before we continue.
Schools for many years have had this silo effect where a teacher goes to a class and teaches their class, and any practices or any innovations or anything that happens within that classroom kind of stays there. So an observation program broadens the ability for other teachers to see what practice is in various subjects and different teachers, different modes of delivery.
We looked at this huge pool of talent that we've got in the school and went, why are we never looking at what we do? Why are we never observing our peers? Why aren't we capitalising on the strengths that we've got? And so we decided that we should look into peer observation. So we launched our peer-to-peer program.
People volunteered to be involved, and then they would approach people to, can I come and visit you in your classroom?
When we launched our peer-to-peer program, we were really conscious of the fact that teachers had not had other teachers in their rooms for most of their careers, except when they were being formally evaluated. So we were really conscious that we wanted to go slowly, slowly, slowly. We wanted to build the culture so that our observations wouldn't be threatening, that the process of reflection would be something that people were really on board with. So we definitely kept the brakes on in terms of, initially we just said no feedback at all. This is about your reflection. And some people sort of want to jump in. It's like, no, please, at the start, we're going to take this slowly. Let's just get used to the thing of having other people coming into our classrooms.
I think in terms of the effects of a peer-to-peer or classroom observation program, the first thing I'd say is that it's made teaching and learning more collegial. So we have a very flat structure at this school, and we have a strong culture of support, and one of the things that I think has come out of that is that teachers have taken on board the observations or been observed as a teacher as a professional responsibility rather than somebody checking up on them, and that I think has been from the beginning a very clear message that we've tried to give everyone.
Our next step for observation at the school is just expanding it to make sure that we do have all staff involved in that. At the moment it's been on a voluntary basis, and we've taken over 80% of the staff have been involved in that.
Teachers make the biggest difference in the students' learning, that's pretty obvious, and if we can improve every single teacher by observation, which is the main thing, and by research, which is a secondary thing, and by further study, which is the third thing, then I think we'll have a very powerful teaching program, I suppose, teaching and learning program, and a very powerful group of teachers.
Let me guess, many of you have been observed before, but most of the time someone else sit in your class, mark you, and then walk away. And at the end of the day, you still wonder what was good and what was not. So, classroom observation is a process whereby a person sits in classroom session, record the teacher's teaching practices and student actions, and meets with the teacher to discuss observation. However, rather than having a stranger or a school leader sitting in class, teachers observing teachers is becoming a popular model to help improve teaching practice and student performance. When teachers observe teachers, everybody benefits. For teachers, this is an opportunity to engage in reflective dialogue about their work, which would lead to improvement of classroom practices. Next, teacher receives support from an expert, a peer, who understand the daily demands of the classroom. This kind of observation also increases teachers' satisfaction with their work. For new teachers, It helps reducing job stress, creating a welcoming atmosphere, and the comfort of knowing that someone is available for help, explain, and assist. For the school, teacher observing teachers can increase collaboration among teachers, establish a professional learning community, create an increased focus on student achievement, and foster enthusiasm for the teaching professions. To make teacher observation a powerful tool for professional development, there are some considerations. First, ensuring school leaders advocate and support teacher observation as a valid form of professional development. Building a community of trust among faculty. Establishing a school-wide commitment to the approach. Separating observation from the teacher evaluation process. Declaring the purpose for teacher observation and a commitment to its outcomes. Inviting teachers to first participate in the process as volunteers. Allowing time for teachers to observe other teachers. Organizing scheduled meetings, coaching sessions, and follow-up conversations. Select specific strategies and skills on which to focus during an observation session. Instituting a way to measure the impact of observation. Dr. Sally Blake, Professor of Teacher Education at the University of Texas at El Paso, suggested the following sequence of events for effective Teachers Observing Teachers program. First, overview. A simple overview of the program with a focus on what the main point of observation will be. Observation, a short observation sequence. Discussion, immediate discussion concerning the observation. Reflection, reflection concerning how information from the sequence may be used by the observer. Application, application of the behavior by the observer in the classroom with feedback from the teacher. There are some observation models you may want to use in your own practice. Lesson study. In this three-pronged approach designed by Japanese educators, teachers collaboratively develop a lesson, observe it being taught to students, and then discuss and refine it. Peer coaching. In this non-evaluative professional development strategy, educators work together to discuss and share teaching practices, observe each other's classrooms, provide mutual support, and, in the end, enhance teaching to enrich student learning. Cognitive coaching. Teachers are taught specific skills that involve asking questions so that the teacher observed is given the opportunity to process learning associated with teaching the lesson. Critical Friends Group, or CFG. This program provides time and structure in the teacher's schedule for professional growth linked to student learning. Each CFG is composed of 8 or 12 teachers and administrators under the guidance of at least one coach who met regularly to develop collaborative skills, reflect on their teaching practices, and look at student work. Learning Walk. The Learning Walk, created by the Institute for Learning at the University of Pittsburgh, is a process that invites participants to visit several classrooms, to look at student work and classroom artifacts, and to talk with students and teachers. Participants then review what they have learned in the classroom by making factual statements and posing questions about the observations. The end result is that teachers become more reflective about their teaching practices. Professional development is always linked to the learning walks. Now, let's watch a video in which the school used lesson study model.
Lesson study is a process whereby teachers as a team collaborate, develop a lesson that one of those people in the team volunteers to teach, and it's taught, it's observed by the other people in the team. The team comes back, has a discussion around it, what worked, what didn't work, what they think might need to be changed, and then another volunteer from that group reteaches the same lesson with its adjustments to a different group of children, and then the observation and discussion is had again around that. The team leaders were the first people to do the lesson study and be the person to teach the lesson, and that way everybody felt it was okay. Lesson study is a very non-judgmental strategy to use. It's not about the teacher because the lesson is developed as a team, and it is a team effort, so it's around the strategy itself. It's not the teacher, it's not individualised. We're not looking at the teacher, we're looking at the strategy, we're looking at the things that are happening in classrooms to improve student outcomes.
At first, the students are really scared because they've got other teachers coming in the classroom. They feel really overwhelmed and think that all the teachers are there for them. So basically what we usually do before we do our lesson study, scaffold the students and remind them that lesson study is basically not to observe the students. It's basically us and other teachers visiting the classroom to think of ways of how we can improve student learning.
Our aim today is to look at student self-directed learning in stage 3.
Like Jan said, it is SOL, so it's self-organised learning environments. So it's very student directed. So they've got a big question that they're researching and answering. They organise their own groups, and at the end they present one fact that they've found and then reflect on their learning in a group.
As observers, we don't interfere with the natural process of the lesson. We don't talk or carry on a sidebar conversation during the lesson. We can circulate around the room when the children are engaged, but not when it's a teacher and class situation. We stand to the back and the sides, and it's about the goals of the lesson. It's not about Amanda's teaching or Amanda. It's about the goals of the lesson, what's happening in the lesson and what we can see from there. And of course we're embedding all of those things that we've been talking about and learning about in professional learning.
Why is SOLs important? Why are those skills important? I know you all came up with your own success criteria. You've got them on your checklist. Hands up who can give me one example of something that they put for their success criteria. I think it went well. They love SOLs, they're very engaged with it. You can see that they self-organise. I think they're just so engaged with the process, and you can see that they're connecting the skills, they're connecting the success criteria, and they're doing that in other subjects as well now. So it's nice to see a class that can self-regulate their learning.
It worked well, and there wasn't any behaviour problems. Everybody was on task, and in the end they did produce some good, relevant information.
Jalal, do you just want to give us a brief rundown on what's going to happen today?
Okay, so students in 5-6A and 5-6C have been undertaking learning using the SOL model in order to develop their critical and creative abilities within the ICT capability. We all came together after Amanda did her first lesson study, and we realised that to change it for my lesson study, we'll do a buddy class. So Amanda did her SOL with her class. My class is a buddy class, so mine is half of 5-6A and half of 5-6C. What we're going to do today is continue our SOL session that we worked on yesterday. You'll all be presenting your information to the whole class, so make sure each one of you has something to present, and you record and share your findings at the end. Okay, so you can start your SOL session, and also don't forget to put up your vocab and your websites, please. You'll have 20 minutes, so keep an eye on the timer. You can move around the room or sit on the floor wherever you like. You can start now.
One of the things about lesson study is that, you know, you teach, you change what needs to be changed, and then you reteach. And we've done that today. And you talked about the reteach being how you changed it up. Can you just refresh us on that one?
So the reteach of Amanda's lesson study was Amanda conducted her SOL session with her class, whereas for my session we changed it up with students from 5-6A and 5-6C. So we halved our class up roughly, and we called it the buddy class, and that was a strategy that we adopted from the SOL program when we were doing our program there. The reason why we did that is just to challenge the students. We found that the kids, while they were doing it in our class, were always going in the same groups. We thought, let's see how the dynamics change if we buddy them up with different students and challenge them. I believe the lesson went really well. I think our outcome was achieved. All the kids were engaged, all of them were on task, all of them completed everything that they needed to doing their success criteria.
I really think that the learning intention was really nailed, and if we really look at the learning intention, which was to work collaboratively, locate, analyse, summarise and evaluate sources using technology, it's that broad concept of learning intention. So looking at learning intentions I think was really great.
Difficulties is mainly the pressure of it. We know that teachers across the school are there to support us, but it is quite nerve-wracking thinking that you're going to have a group of teachers coming in and viewing your lesson. However, the first few times we did it, we realised that it's constructive. No one's there to give you negative feedback or say that you're not teaching well. It's really a great tool to become a more proficient teacher.
Lesson study has allowed us to see how our professional learning and the strategies that we're talking about and learning to improve student outcome. It allows us to see how it's been embedded in classrooms, and because we do it K to 6 and because we share across stages now, it allows all of us to see how it's been embedded, but it also gives us lots of ideas that we can actually take and modify to use in our own classrooms.
So, do you think lesson study is applicable to you and your colleagues? If you want to look further into classroom observation, you can find more materials in the reading folder. That brings me to the end of this video. Thank you for your attention.